Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisFiction and welcome back to another edition of the Spectacular Spider-Man continuation series. This is the summer break movie called Spider-Man Second Chances. This will take place in between seasons 4 and 5. So if you have not seen season 4, make sure to go back and watch that. And also, if you are watching season 5 later on in the next few weeks, then make sure you watch this before you watch that. With that being said, let's get straight into this. Spider-Man swings through the city of New York on the verge of dusk. He looks out over the city that he saved, the city that owes him a life debt, yet he requests nothing at all. All the hardship, all the trouble he takes on board for the people of the city is beyond anything anyone could have ever comprehended, even the people who know his secret. Peter will narrate over this opening segment. He'll say life is complicated at the moment. Life is always complicated. But since Gwen moved to San Francisco, the situation he finds himself in with Mary Jane Watson has been rather back and forth. We will get a few flashbacks in between this piece of narration, showcasing the awkward nature between the two. A few weeks ago, Mary Jane regrettably kissed Peter. Even though she clearly has feelings for him, she didn't want to feel second fiddle to Gwen. But deep down, Peter knows. The way that he looks at her, the way that she looks at him back, they love each other. During this scene, Peter will be looking out over the city. He will get a notification and look down at his phone. It's MJ. But he doesn't respond. He puts the phone down and continues his patrol. There's one thing stopping Peter. Spider-Man. He can't let anyone get caught up in the mess that is his life. He wants people like Mary Jane to stay as far away from it as possible. Through this opening segment, we will also learn that Peter, Mary Jane, Anna Watson, and Aunt May have all planned to go to California for a few weeks in the summer. This will be the first time that Peter will ever leave for a big vacation, as Aunt May has started to generate enough income from her job at Feast, and put together with Anna Watson's incomings as well, they will both plan to go away together, since these two families have grew pretty close over the last couple of seasons, and have generally done stuff together like Christmas, etc. The one issue is that Peter doesn't really want to go. He'll not only be nervous about the whole situation with Mary Jane, but he also can't leave New York. Not all of his questions have currently been answered. After everything that happened at the end of last season, Peter still has problems. He still has things that he needs to know the answer of. There are still questions that he needs to ask. The villains of the Sinister Six may be locked away, but the likelihood that their team-up went deeper than a slight feud for Spider-Man is high. At the end of this introduction, Spider-Man swings down stopping a crime. He takes out all the thugs, however he's a bit slow and lethargic. It is revealed that when Peter makes it home, it's 2 in the morning. He takes off his mask and he has dark circles under his eyes and his hair is a mess. However, his late entrance startles Aunt May, who already believed him to be in bed. She shouts his name as Peter pulls the covers up to cover his costume. She enters the room and sees his window open. She asks what's going on, and Peter says that he was just on the roof. She gasps, asking why is he going up there, and especially at this time. Peter stutters, saying that he just needed some air. May frowns and says he's not to do it again, because he'll hurt himself. She tells him to get some sleep, as their flight is really early next morning. After the rather comical interaction, she leaves for some more sleep. Peter struggles to sleep though, as the time passes, with a lot on his mind, dwelling the life that he currently lives. We get to the next day as we're introduced to Mary Jane Watson. This scene will be the 4 of them together on the way to the airport. We will get to see here firsthand the relationship and awkwardness between MJ and Peter. MJ will look out the window in the taxi on the way to the airport. Peter falls asleep in the taxi on the way over, however. They arrive to the airport and Peter wakes up. They make their way through JFK and they'll get on their flight to California. As they fly, we cut over to California and to a character that we haven't seen in over 2 seasons. That's right, Dr. Curtis Connors and Dr. Martha Connors. We will catch up with them. We will also get our first look at a more grown-up Billy Connors as well, who has started to take up an interest in science like his parents. Their lab in California is smaller than the one that they had in New York, showing how much their lives have slowed down after moving away from the Big Apple. We will get a few scenes showing their family dynamic and how they're getting on in their new lives. However, in the first couple of scenes, we are introduced to the main reason as to why we are following the Connors in California, as Kurt reveals that he has been working on a cure for Electro all of this time. Whilst continuing other scientific research, Kurt on the back burner had continued to work on a cure for Max Dillon, as the prospect of curing him is still on his conscience, after what happened in Season 1. He believes that it will fully work this time. which is when it is revealed that 6 months prior to this, Electro had also been released from prison into rehab and recovery following good behavior, explaining the reason as to why he wasn't a part of the breakout of Rikers Island in Season 4. He has moved to California, with an offshore rehab branch of Rikers partner with Dr. Connors to try and bring him back to full health. Electro has come a really long way since his last involvement with Doc Ock during the Master Planner arc in Season 2. He still has pent up anger and rage, however has learned to control it and accept that a cure will take time and cannot be rushed. Max Dillon, since the last time we saw him, has realised that there is a second chance at life. We cut back to Peter as everyone lands in California. We cut between a few scenes of them getting comfortable in their hotel rooms. It's nothing special, but Peter is mesmerised by the idea of the whole thing. We cut to later that night. Some of the tensions previous will still be present, however, this scene will have more of a relaxed feel to it. This is where we will get a montage of the first night of the holiday. We will get to see everyone having fun and spending time with these characters outside the drama-filled New York City. One thing that I feel like we haven't gotten to see with these characters over the last few years is them in their day-to-day lives. This film will allow them to express their normal selves when they are having fun. Aunt May, Anna Watson, MJ and Peter will all be normal for a very split second. Until we cut back to Dr. Connors and Electro. It's time. This is the big day. The big night. Electro will finally be receiving his cure. Max will be nervous, saying that he really wants this cure to work. The doc says that he's happy to announce that it won't fail. Dr. Connors will get ready to inject the cure into Max. The police wait outside, however, just in case. However, after getting to know Max over the last 6 months, and after getting to work with him through the rehab center, he fully trusts him. And we get the sense in this scene that there is a platonic trust between the two of them. Max respects Dr. Connors, and Dr. Connors trusts Max. Therefore, Dr. Connors will request that the police aren't needed inside, and it'll only make Max more nervous. Connors puts the cure into Max's bloodstream. At first, Max says that he doesn't feel anything, and Dr. Connors says to give it time. As tension rises throughout the building, Max says he still doesn't feel anything. Connors holds his head down, realizing that it hasn't worked. It should have worked by now. Max turns to the doc and says, "Don't tell me what you think you're going to say." And Dr. Connors will say, he's sorry. Max lets out a burst of emotion, not rageful, but sorrowful. Electric beams come from all parts of his body, fly in all sorts of directions, sending the doc flying back. The police run in, trying to engage Max. Max apologizes severely, saying that he didn't mean to do it and not to hurt him. However, the police start firing anyway. Max has no option but to run. Martha Connors runs up to Dr. Connors to see if he's okay, but he's unconscious. In the meantime, we will cut back to Peter and MJ as we get a scene where they end up alone together. They're walking the street at night, with an orange glow in the background, illuminated by the streetlights. They get talking about everything. Mary Jane says that she's confused about what they are, and Peter goes shy. He doesn't know how to respond. She says that she doesn't know if they're together or if they're just friends, because Peter keeps sending mixed signals. She will tell him that originally she didn't want to play second fiddle to Gwen, but since then she's felt a real connection between the two of them. Peter has shown interest, and MJ has shown interest back. However, every time that she thinks that they're getting close, Peter pulls away again and will ghost her, almost like she doesn't exist. This will confuse MJ, and she will tell Peter that this confuses her. This will be a real honesty talk, reflecting back to what we saw play out during the start of the film. Peter will be listening, understanding, and taking everything in that MJ says, thinking back to the start of the film when he blanked her. He looks into her eyes and doesn't say anything. MJ laser-eyed looks back. She tells him to say something. And then Peter's head rings. It's his spider sense. His eye twitches, and police sirens can be heard in the background. Peter gulps, and MJ instantly looks disappointed. She knows why. She knows why Peter can't be with her, but it's not fair. She knows it's not fair. All Peter can do is apologize as he pulls his mask from out of his pocket, and under his clothes reveals his Spider-Man suit. He swings away. The constant threat of danger alarms Spider-Man. Maybe it's the thrill, but maybe it's the overwhelming sensation of anxiety that he needs to do this to protect the ones he loves, including Mary Jane. Spider-Man is his life, and nothing will ever change that. Peter arrives on the scene to police shooting at a building. He swings down, and another blast of electricity sends Peter flying back. Peter gets up, saying that he knows that feeling anywhere, as he comes face to face with Electro once more. But instead of fighting him, Electro asks for help, as police keep firing in his direction. Peter is confused but demands an explanation from Max, as they keep dodging and weaving the bullets. The police officers are confused as they've never seen Spider-Man before in their entire lives. What is Spider-Man doing in California? Either way, Electro says that the doc tried to cure him, but it didn't work. He'll tell Spider-Man that he didn't mean to react in the way that he did, but the officers just keep shooting at him. Peter sighs, knowing that the Californian police are going to not like him for this. And with that, Peter decides to help Electro, guiding him away from the police and to safety. He webs up the guns of the officers, so they can't shoot at Max. He asks Max if anyone is inside, and he'll say the doc. Peter, not clicking in yet as to who he's referring to as the doc, goes inside and enters the building to help whoever's inside. Peter lands, and in front of him lay an unconscious Dr. Connors, with Martha Connors standing over him, begging him to wake up. He's too heavy for her to carry out, as she's struggling to pick him up. And then she sees Spider-Man. Startled, she shouts his name. Peter is also startled. He hasn't seen these two ever since they left New York. Peter helps them and rushes them out of the building. However, doesn't act too surprised to see them as to not reveal his secret identity. Peter lands them in a safe spot. However, the police come over and ask Spider-Man to put his hands in the air. Spider-Man looks up to the officers pointing their guns at him and says he's sorry to Martha as he swings off. However, the police open fire on him, catching Spider-Man in the leg. Peter screams out in pain as he collapses on a building. Peter limps away into the night. However, Dr. Connors still won't wake up. Martha calls his name once more, but nothing as she holds his hand. Once Kurt is rushed to the hospital, Spider-Man comes and visits when no one else is there. He has a nice interaction with Martha Connors, as she explains everything that has been going on with her, Kurt, and Max over the last few years. She asks what the hell he's doing in California, and Spider-Man jokingly says that he thought he'd drop by to a different state to keep it fresh every once in a while. Peter will return home that night, thinking about Kurt, even though he doesn't know Kurt that well anymore. That's another friend that is severely hurt. Someone else he could lose. Solidifying Peter's thought process, relating back to his internal struggle with MJ. He can't keep the ones he loves close. Not when they always get hurt. We cut to later the next day. Aunt May is knocking on Peter's room to get him to wake up. He wakes and says he's coming. As he hops out of bed, he stands on his sore leg, where he was shot. He groans in pain. He looks down at it and webs it shut. Peter walks out of his room. Aunt May says that he's been asleep all day. They're going to the pier today, and she got him up at the last moment. Peter says that he's sorry, and MJ looks at him in a disappointed manner. Peter limps towards the car as he climbs in. During this time, Peter thinks back to last night. Electro is still out there, and Dr. Connors, he hasn't seen him in such a long time. He just hopes that he's okay. We then cut back to the hospital, and it's confirmed. Dr. Connors is in a coma. Martha sits by him as the doc gives her the bad news. He won't be waking up anytime soon. Martha cries over his limp body. All Kurt wanted to do was bring good into the world by healing it, and here he is. The doc says that he'll give her a moment. As Martha speaks to him while he rests, a spark can be seen in the light above, until Electro bolts down, appearing in front of her. Martha, startled, at first asks what is he doing here. Electro says that the police are after him, but he just wanted to see Dr. Connors. Electro gives his love, and says he's sorry. Martha tells him that it wasn't his fault. Max says that he wishes there's a way that they could bring him back to full health, and that's when he thinks of an idea. He tells Martha that, what if they transform him back into the lizard? Thus, when he becomes human again, he'll be alive and well. Martha says that, even though that could work, and that Kurt did keep some lizard formula just in case he was to ever work on it again, he couldn't do that to him. Not to her family. Not to Billy. Billy was already scarred seeing his dad like that the first time. Electro puts his head down, as he understands. Just before the doctor comes back into the room, Electro leaves in a flash. We cut back to Peter, MJ, May and Anna as they go around the carnival on a pier. Classic vacation stuff. During the day, as we cut through moments, MJ can be seen interacting with a guy that she meets at one of the stalls. Peter looks over. He feels a sudden rush of anxiousness run over him. This is not his spider sense. Not anything like that. I think it's jealousy, he'll say to himself. A sensation that he's never quite felt to this extent before. Peter ignores it at first, but can't come to terms with it when later that day, he sees them speaking with each other once again. Peter decides to go over to them. MJ introduces the guy that she's been speaking to all day to Peter as none other than Morris Bench. Peter shakes his hand. Morris asks if that's MJ's boyfriend, and she'll say absolutely not, as Peter stands there coyly. During this interaction, we'll also get a funny moment where Morris kind of recognizes Peter. He'll ask Peter if they've met before, or if they know each other, and Peter will disregard this. Morris laughs it off, as a period of awkward silence follows. They will get talking, and Peter will find out that Morris is a construction worker. He's actually worked in New York, where they're from. Originally, he was actually from New York, but recently he's moved out to California as he's got some big jobs over here. During the conversation, MJ will seem really intrigued and interested by this guy. Peter will once again feel that feeling, and will decide that enough is enough. Peter will say that he feels like he's interrupting, and decides to leave and go back to Aunt May. However, during this time, we will cut back to Electro. He's in an eternal debate with himself. He's reformed. He is a good person. He doesn't lead his life of selfishness anymore. He's over all of that. But how he'd kill to get a normal life back. A life without the god-forsaken powers of Electro. And the only person that can cure him of that is the Doc. Turning him back into the lizard will work, he says to himself. But he can't do that to Martha. He can't betray their trust. But what other options does he have? He could make it look like an accident. He could even get Spider-Man's help. As we flash through the scenes, Electro hesitantly returns to the hospital after breaking into the Connors lab and stealing some lizard formula. He stands over the Doc's bed and says that he's sorry. As he injects the lizard formula back into him, the Doc's eye opens rapidly as the formula takes effect straight away. We cut back to Peter, who is with Aunt May, sulking slightly and still feeling the pain from last night, when screaming can be heard in the background. Peter says, great. He gets Aunt May and Anna Watson to safety as he returns to the action, making the excuse that he's going to find MJ, as he stands face to face with a rageful lizard rushing down the pier, being chased by the man himself, Electro. Peter finds a place to hide as he changes into his Spider-Man outfit. He pulls the mask down and engages with the lizard. Electro is also trying to stop the lizard, but not hurt him. Peter asks Max, what the hell happened? Is that Dr. Connors? And Electro says that it is, but he's not sure how it happened, gritting his teeth as he refuses to tell the truth. Peter and Electro both work together to try and stop the lizard. The fight rages on, as the pier starts breaking and cracking under the weight of the fight. Morris takes MJ to a safe, quiet corner of the pier. The fight starts to make its way towards them. As the crashing gets louder, MJ huddles up to Morris and holds him tight. Morris holds MJ back. All of a sudden, Spider-Man comes crashing through the building, landing next to them. Peter looks up as they hold each other. A split second of distraction as his heart drops. He snaps out of it and says that they need to get to safety. They both run in the opposite direction to the fight. Electro jumps on top of the lizard, but the lizard snaps and throws him to the ground. The impact sends him through the wooden floorboards and into the ocean below, electrifying the seawater. Spider-Man continues to fight the lizard, as Morris continues to run with MJ. However, the fight manages to break the pier in front of them, and Morris loses his balance and falls into the ocean below. MJ screams his name as she calls on Spider-Man to save him. But just before Peter could make a save, the lizard tackles him to the floor. Morris falls into the electrified sea. Even though Electro is out of commission, Peter has to beat the lizard, for Dr. Connors' sake. The fight carries on until the lizard is finally defeated. The cops and Martha Connors make it onto the scene to see an awake, alive, but traumatized Kurt Connors. And with that, we come to the end of part 1 of Second Chances. Thank you for watching part 1 of Spider-Man Second Chances. The second part will come out on Thursday. Yes, this is a two-parter because I felt like the more I wrote this movie, it really did feel like two separate movies kind of conjoined into one. If you guys understand the ending of this first part, then you'll definitely know what is to come in the second. That's coming out on Thursday, so only 2 days wait. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys on Thursday for part 2. Take care and peace.